Hello, welcome to the Geek Show, and we're talking about a video game today. Before we get into that, please do click like, subscribe, and comment below to help this channel grow and keep up to date. So, Sparklite, what is it? It's a indie RPG from Red Blue Games on the Switch, PS4, and Steam. It's about a character called Ada. As the game begins, you have a little robot companion. You do pick him up later again, a bit deeper into the game, but you're in the airship, your airship crashes, and you're in this environment. You try and escape, take your robotic companion who's been picked up by a Titan, and that Titan is one of the four bosses who work under this character called the Baron. The Baron wants to destroy the world because of course he does, it's an RPG. And those four Titans have a different sort of industrial revolution sort of way. It's about deforestation and getting rid of the environment and natural world. That sort of thing. That's what the bosses, the motif of the bosses. But in that battle, you are resoundingly trumped. You head up into this environment as you're picked up by this big winch. This big, it's just not overword. It's a big winch. And you are taken to a floating island. That's your sort of hub world. So once you have established where you are and what you are there, you go back down to Earth in a procedurally generated environment. It's all very SNES, it's all very Legend of Zelda-esque sort of SNES era. And you've got to go around that environment and battle things, pick up Sparklite. And when you got Sparklite, you can put it into upgrading that little hub thing hovering above the world, which opens up new additives, new upgrades for your character, as well as just making it look a little bit cooler and expanding and progressing with the game. On the ground, there's a variety of things. As you first start, it's a landmass which you have to go from square to square, fighting a variety of animals and monsters. There's gremlins and, as I mentioned, the Titans. The gremlins have things called cauldrons, which you can get lots of Sparklite. You can get new weapons, new tools to help you on your way through the level and platform your way through the level. But it's one of these things, the more you go in, the more you explore, the more things you get. Like, there's one thing where you get inventory, basically. You pick up items, and when you've been beaten, you get sent back up to the hub place, and you put those items in your inventory, so when you go back, you have like better skills, like adding hearts to your health bar, or this thing where you can add the map, so it's a visible map throughout when you ever land in the world, so you know where you are and you know where you're going, which is important because it's procedurally generated, so it's not a matter of remembering where you are, where you need to go, because it's different every time you go there. The thing I enjoyed about it, though, is, bear with me on this, I don't like Dark Souls. Here is a big tangent, but I don't like Dark Souls because, in my opinion, and some others who aren't really on that sort of level of gaming, think Dark Souls doesn't really respect your time. I say that because you can do very well. You make one stupid mistake, you lose all of your gains of fighting, your gains, what you've earned really, and then you can go and get killed. And you go back and you do something stupid and then you've lost all of that. You can use things like get good and whatnot, which I think is incredibly reductive when playing games. But I think bringing it back to Sparklite, what I really like about this is it has that sort of element of you have some degree of power, you're very much capable of beating these things on the world. But at the same time, when you meet something that you know you cannot beat, it's a wall there, a wall that you have to beat, sort of Metroidvania style, as in go elsewhere, find the skills, find the kit, and you'll be able to beat that bit a bit better. But at the same time, you will never lose anything which will help you progress the game. It's using sort of roguelike and procedurally developed and Dark Souls-like sort of mechanics, but at the same time, it respects your time, it respects the fact that, it just respects your time, let's not over-embellish what I'm saying here. In the same sense of when you are plonked into the world, every time you are beaten and you come back down into the earth, every time you come back down to the earth, you are put in this little square which has a cog. And regardless of how many levels you have opened up, regardless of whatever, you will always land in the cog. But the more things you have in your inventory, the easier that makes it. So, you've got to find like the entrance to the second map, world, environment, or the third map. It's 4 bosses, so that's how it's broken up. So it respects your time, and I appreciate that. It's very easy to play, it's very self-explanatory, even though it doesn't really explain itself all that well from the off. But at the end of the day, as much as I can sort of say there's nice things about this, what's wrong with Sparklite is what's wrong with many indie games. I'm not throwing indie games under the car here by any means, it's having that ability to stand out from the crowd. Everything that Sparklite does and Red Blue Games have done, I like. At the same time, it's very, very difficult for a game like this to stand out in the crowd, because the one thing that I do like about indie games is if something's not being made, the indie game community will make it. And this sort of SNES era RPG, Legend of Zelda, whatnot, I know I'm repeating the same touchstones, but it's a big one. People aren't making these games, Nintendo aren't making these games, they're just repackaging. I think it's Link's Awakening was the new one they did, but to have that sort of classic feeling is something which isn't being made, so indie game developers do pick up on this stuff, and the more indie game developers pick up on it, the more of a mass there is, and the more of a mass there is of a specific type of game, the harder it is to stand out, which is a shame, I think, because as far as what this game does right, and the way it's paced, and its difficulty curve, I think it does an awful lot very, very well, and it deserves to be picked up by a good audience. I think the Switch might be the place for that, because this is very much ideally suited to mobile play, like going to work or whatever. It does suit that sort of framework of play very, very nicely.